last years of the 19th century, that human affairs were being watched from the timeless worlds of space. No one could have dreamed we were being scrutinized as someone with a microscope studies creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. Few men even considered the possibility of life on other planets. And yet, across the gulf of space, minds immeasurably superior to ours regarded this Earth with envious eyes. And slowly and surely, they drew their plans against us.
Broadcasting live
from a tiny studio somewhere in North America.
This is Dark Matters Radio Live. And now I give you your host,
the silverback of ufology.
Here's Don Ecker.
Well, greetings, everybody. It's great to have you with us tonight. It's great to be back on KGRA. And before we get into tonight's show, got several announcements I'd like to make. First, normally he would be joining us here in studio, but Gary Kissel has experienced some serious problems with his back. He called me up earlier today and said he's just got to take it easy this evening. He's going to rest up. Hopefully he'll be back with us in a week or so. But I said, hey, Gary, your first and foremost thing to do is to get back in shape, get feeling better. So Gary will not be here tonight. However, Mr. Mark Center is joining us. Mark, welcome back, my friend. How is it going?
It is going quite well. Let me stop what I was doing, and you look like a Hollywood movie star with your hair all slicked back and very nice.
Oh, you like that? You like that?
Yes, I do.
Well, I went into the little boy's room, and I wet it down a little bit, and I got my hairbrush, and voila, there you go, pal. Couple of more announcements. The big UFO story this year has been the possibility of disclosure. In other words, the United States government coming clean with what it knows about the UFO/UAP phenomenon. With that being said, a number of months ago, I began a paper. I've got, 35 years anyway, professionally in this field. And I've met everybody worth meeting in this field. I've talked to literally thousands and thousands of people. I've actually butted heads with personalities at the Pentagon, with NASA and others. And as a result, I thought this paper would put a disclaimer on the whole idea of disclosure. I got done with it yesterday, literally, after months of working on it. And it's currently being proofed. Hopefully, within a few days, it's going to be available to get out there into the wild, so to speak. But with that being said, today, this morning, 9 o'clock my time, Bill Skywatcher, our executive producer, gathered together 4 of us, myself, Commander Cobra, Chris DePerno, and Mr. Martin Willis. And we are beginning in a few weeks a brand new show called Crossfire UAP, where each week this panel will take a look at what's up and coming, and in some cases, perhaps rip it apart. Who knows? But this morning, we pre-recorded our very first show, which will be out in a couple of weeks. I don't yet have an exact date for it, but I got to tell you, it was a heck of a show, and I am looking forward to doing this. It will be once a week. It will probably either air on Sundays or perhaps Thursdays. It has not yet been set in stone. Okay, so there we go. Now, tonight's show is going to be probably a bit different than what you all are used to with Dark Matters Radio. Back when my wife, Vicki, and I were publishing UFO Magazine, a lady that we got to know and love became, for about 5 years, our managing editor, Ms. Rene Barnett. As a matter of fact, Rene has a show right here on KGRA called Night Vision Radio. I was blessed to be on it a couple of weeks ago, and we had, as usual and always, a very good time. And Rene is now the editor of the KGRA newsletter. Now, they decided, who knows why, that they were going to feature my return with Dark Matters Radio back to KGRA. So Rene called me up and said, hey, I want to interview you about some stuff for our first premiere newsletter. I said, sure, no problem. So we did that, and I happened to ask Rene about a lady that I had met through Rene and my old producer, Jeff Floro, a number of years back. And I asked if she was still doing her shtick, which is basically psychic phenomenon. Now, I've interviewed this lady twice on my show in the past. And Rene said, well, Don, she said, I haven't been in touch with her in a while. She said, but let me tell you what. She said, I've met somebody that basically knocked my socks off. And I said, really? In what way? And she said, well, she does not bill herself as a psychic, but a medium. Now, what does a medium do? Medium has the purported ability to reach those on the other side of the veil, okay? In other words, once the mortal body ceases, there is that indefinable essence within each of us, regardless of what you call it. You call it a soul, you call it your spirit, whatever, but it survives the mortal death process. Well, I got to tell you, I've always believed that. In 1972, I had come home from Vietnam on an emergency leave. My grandfather, who helped raise me when I was just a baby, when my dad was called back into the military for the Korean War. He had been a World War II vet, but he had to go back to Korea. So Grandma and my grandfather took Mom and I was the only child then, into their bosom. And as a result, over the years, I was extremely close to him. Well, he had a heart attack right before Christmas of 71. So my parents got in touch via the Red Cross, and I was granted a leave where I went home. Well, while I was home, and I did get to see him, he suffered a heart attack and passed on. Well, I got to tell you, I was literally devastated. That man was one of the most important people in my life ever. The admiration I held for him was beyond. And after the funeral was over, I had gone back to Grandma and Grandpa's house. And where I'm from in Pennsylvania, after a funeral, often many of the mourners will come by the house, bring food, gifts, that type of thing, and basically just share some fellowship. Well, I wasn't up for that. And I went into the bedroom, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I cried my eyes out over the loss of my grandfather. Well, during that process, something extraordinary happened. Suddenly, I heard what sounded like a buzzing sound. Suddenly, the bedroom suffused with a soft blue light. And when that happened, suddenly I felt myself calming, and I got up off the bed and I looked around, and there was this indefinable shape of this blue light. Well, from that day to this day, I am convinced it was my grandfather letting me know that he was fine. Okay, now, one more experience that I went through before I introduce our special guest this evening. On April the 2nd, 1972, it was Easter Sunday. A couple of days previous to that, the camp that I was in on the demilitarized zone in Vietnam was overrun by the enemy, by the North Vietnamese communists. And by the grace of whatever, I guess, the Holy Spirit, we all got out of there. We were able to escape and evade, were picked up by a helicopter and taken down to Phu Bai, which was our parent unit. Well, the next day, the camp that I had been in before going to the DMZ was in Quang Tri province. And they were calling back, screaming for some destructive thermite grenades because they had a bunch of top secret electronic gear there. I volunteered like a moron, okay, to take those grenades up. I did. And when I got up there, I was appointed by the executive officer of this MACV team to be the non-commissioned officer in charge of the reactionary platoon. In other words, if we got hit and they penetrated the defenses, it was our job to go out and try to stop them. Well, all that night we were being shelled, and it was pretty hairy, let me tell you that. The next day, I guess it was in the early mornings of the hour, maybe around 9 o'clock, 9:30 a.m. Vietnam time, we started getting shelled again. And I was in our bunker, and suddenly I heard some rifle fire, maybe a machine gun, and a couple of bangs. It sounded like grenades. I went charging out the bunker with my weapon. I got out there, and suddenly I was shot. I took a round in the chest. And just as I was being knocked into the dirt, another round came in, an artillery round, detonated, and it hit me too. Well, I was in bad shape. Somebody heard all the commotion in the bunker, ran out, they drugged me in, they called for a medevac. I ended up being flown all the way down to Da Nang to the 95th Evac Hospital, and they immediately took me into emergency surgery. Well, the point that I'm getting to is while I'm in there, in surgery, they just administered me the anesthesia. I died, literally died on the operating table. I was gone for maybe 2 minutes. Now, they revived me. But while I'm lying there, my physical body had ceased to work I suddenly found myself, I swear to God, this is what I vividly recall, in the air, floating up in the air. And I'm looking down and I see this surgical team working on this guy. The guy was me, although at the time I didn't know and I didn't care. I got to say, I was more at peace in that moment than I've ever been in my life. And suddenly, I felt something as if they grabbed me from the back and started pushing me back toward the operating table. The next thing I knew, I woke up in intensive care. Well, that told me something, that there's more to this than what the eye meets. Okay, so Rene is basically interviewing me for this newsletter, and she tells me about this woman she had met by the name of Heather Besser. And I asked her a few questions. She said, Don, this lady knocked my socks off. So I said, oh my God, well, I'd love to meet her. My God, I'd love to have her on my show. She said, well, let me see if she's available and we can chat on the phone. Well, I said, great, hung up, came back. Rene called me and she said, Don, I've got Heather on. And I introduced myself, said hello, and we started to briefly chat. And suddenly she said, there's a line of people here waiting to say hello to you. And I was like, what? Now, I'm a skeptical guy, okay? I was a cop for over 10 years. I was a detective. And when I tell you that in my time, I have been bullshitted by specialists, but not this time. Normally, when something like that crops up, most people will tell you, well, you know what? Yeah, the psychic or the medium person says there's somebody here. Very, very seldom do they ever tell you who it is. It's kind of a game. You got to guess. Well, not with this lady. No. She said, there's first people here. She said, well, actually, there's a man with a dog there. And I said, a dog? And she said, this guy's name is kind of odd. Do you know and she kind of paused for a second, somebody named Zachariah? And I went, oh my God. Zachariah Sitchin, the man who wrote the Earth Chronicles series, The 12th Planet, Genesis Revisited, and so on. We had been very close, dear friends up until his passing a number of years ago. And I said, well, who's the dog? And Heather stopped for a minute and she said, his name is Buckwheat. And I went, oh my God, Buckwheat? Vicky and I had a dog named Buckwheat who was a big guy. At his prime, he was about 125 pounds, beautiful animal. He was a combination of Lab, German Shepherd, and Chinese Shar-Pei. And I jokingly said, although it was only half a joke, that when we had Buckwheat, if we would have had a devastating earthquake, Vicky would have grabbed Buckwheat before she bothered with me to get him outside. We were that close to the dog, but that was only the start of it. The next person that came by, and there's no way that Heather could have known this, was our nephew, Tig, who unfortunately a number of years ago committed suicide. And she named him, okay? And with Tig was Vicky's sister's, Marlene was her name, her dog, Tess. But two of the most amazing revelations was Vicky's father, who passed away in 1971, his name was Baxter, showed up. And Baxter, Heather said to me, she said, did he have some type of a problem with addiction when he was alive? And in fact, he did. He was a drinker, an alcoholic. And Heather said, well, he wants you to know that he apologizes deeply for that. But the most astounding one was when Heather said, there's a man here by the name of John Eyebald. And I went, oh my God, I was in Vietnam with John. John was seriously wounded a couple of months after I was, had his legs blown off in Phu Bai. And a few years ago, he died. He lived in Idaho with his wife and family. He died either of a stroke, I believe it was a stroke that took him. Well, I got to tell you, by this time, I am spinning literally in my chair. And enough of me talking about this. Let me bring Rene and Heather on. Rene Barnett is joining us because she was the lady that introduced me. And Heather and Rene, golly, it's great to see you ladies. Welcome to Dark Matters Radio.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Tell me, Rene.
You know, Dawn, I got to say, though, the most impressive thing about Vicky's dad that came through was when he started playing the word games. And,
Yeah.
you know, of course, I knew nothing about any of that. But he started playing this word game through Heather with Vicky. Which,
Yes.
And it's something that he did in life, which is just amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, he said, ask Vicky, what's the difference between catch and catch?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my
He said,
God.
oh my God.
I thought Vicky was going to come unglued right there on the spot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well,
I'm at
Heather,
a weird
let's-
angle. I'm on my iPhone because I had a MacBook Pro incident. But
well, and actually, it doesn't look bad at all.
Looks good.
Renee.
it's
Looks
not
fine.
bad. I'm kind of like sitting in a weird angle, but other than that, I'm surprised. I should use my iPhone all the time.
Well,
But yeah,
Heather,
I mean, when I met Heather, it just, you know, absolutely, I was blown away. We just got into a group conversation. There were 4 of us on the line, and you know, the way I've noticed, and Heather, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but to me, the way that Heather works the best is when there's a conversation going and people are just chatting, and then, you know, she'll start getting something from the other side, either her spirit guide, Etta, which I know you're going to talk about, or someone else from the other side is trying to come through. So that's what we were doing. We were all just chit-chatting about plans, and we were planning a trip and a tour and all this stuff. And Heather just starts throwing things out, and she's just blowing all our minds. You know, first names, last names, dates. I mean, it's just incredible.
well, yeah, one of the people that dropped by was a cousin of mine named Billy McGregor, who I had not seen literally since about the mid 1960s. Now, Billy was my father's older sister's son. He was older than I was by about 6, maybe 8 years. And it took me a second to think, oh my God, my cousin, when Heather announced him. And then I said, Billy, I did not even know that you had passed. And Heather popped off with, yeah, he said it was 2014 with cancer. Now, look, if somebody would have walked into my house at that moment and hit me with a feather, would have knocked me right out of my chair. So, Heather, let me start by asking you to talk about this process. When did this ability begin for you?
I've always had the ability as long as I can remember. When I first noticed that I was different was actually I started school. And so I was in kindergarten.
What happened?
Okay. And
So when I was in kindergarten, we were, it was almost time to go on winter break. It was our Christmas party. And so after the Christmas party, there was a man in the corner of the room, and he wanted me to ask my teacher if, the teacher was going to put the wooden ornament that he made for her on the tree this year. And so I went and asked my teacher, and she was like, "What did you just ask me?" And so I was like, "Well, the man." And so I was describing him, said his name. I can't remember his name right now, but because it's been such a long time. But that turns out that was her deceased grandfather who had said that. And my mom got called to the school, and that's that. Yeah.
Did they tell you don't do that anymore, or?
They said if I ever wanted to talk to somebody, to go talk to the teacher first, not to talk to the kids.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good way to handle it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you able to assimilate this ability into your life without, well, I guess what's the right word to say, without scaring hell out of everybody by that ability?
Yeah. So I didn't tell my husband until after we got married. So there's that. But it was fun in high school, because all my friends knew I could do it. And they would be like, "Well, does so-and-so like me? Am I going to go to the prom with, whoever?" And, it was dumb questions like that. But I was always
Did you get answers?
I did.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm going to start asking you a bunch of dumb questions then.
Yeah, go ahead. I wish I knew the lottery numbers.
Well, let me ask you this first. Heather told me something that in a way kind of freaked me out, but also excited me. She said that I had a personal spirit guide by the name of Sasha. Now, don't everybody start laughing at once, because I've been tempted. Almost every week I've been tempted to call Heather. I haven't, to say, "Heather, any more information on that?" But with you being right here, let me ask you just right up front, point blank. Have you yourself personally had any communication with my guide?
No. Usually the guide is with you all the time. And so in order for me to have communication with them, I'd have to be either talking to you or they would have to come to me.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Now,
but everybody has a guide.
Can I ask a quick question, Dawn?
Sure.
Is there anybody queued up right now, Heather, waiting to talk?
Yes.
And who is that? And who's it for?
I believe it's for Mark. His name is Rob Tillits.
Yep.
He's just saying hello.
Well, there's no way you'd know that name unless you were scrubbing through my Facebook or something. But I'm not that important, so.
I don't know, Mark, that she even had your name before the show, but.
Right. Rob was an important guy. Passed away 2 years ago, I think.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Is he fine? Is he?
He's good. He's just saying hello, and that he knows that Mark misses him, so he misses him as well. But he has Shayna with him.
Does that mean anything?
It does, but I think he probably means something else, because I have a very small family, and she's actually my sister, and she's the only one left who's alive in the family. But they were very close.
Yeah. So that's mostly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that.
Oh, your
Yeah.
sister's name is Shayna.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were all, it had to do with high school reunions and stuff, and he was probably more attuned with her than me because I'm younger, and they went to high school together, and I didn't. So.
So you brought up high school, and now there's like all these little I guess friends from your high school that are here now.
Okay.
Barbara, Guidison.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh God.
John Dio.
I'm not sure about that one. I was like the reunion guy for
Yeah.
about 15 years, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of names that are probably associated with me. Barbara lived in the same town, and I went to grade school with her as well. But
That's cool. And then David Deitch. David.
Yes, he would be the ex-husband of my sister.
Oh my goodness. Does he have a message for the sister?
No, I guess he mentioned high school, and then they just all showed up. So.
Wow. Just to be clear, I don't want anybody from my high school to show up. They're probably all dead now anyway.
Oh my gosh.
No, there's some I wouldn't mind saying.
Heather told me and Rene about her spirit guide. Now, when she told me about this, I immediately recognized the name. And anybody that saw Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which was kind of a fictionalized account of two very real 19th century and early 20th century outlaws with Paul Newman, Robert Redford, and Catherine Ross, will recognize the name Etta Place. But Etta was a very real woman. And when she told me that, I have a friend and a colleague that I've been trying to get in touch with, Walter Bosley, who wrote quite a bit on Etta Place and some of the mysteries surrounding her. I haven't yet, Heather, I haven't heard back from him, but believe me, when I do, I will let you know. But she seems to be a very integral part of this process for you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so everybody has a spirit guide, and a spirit guide is somebody who, just like the name says, kind of guides you on the path that you're supposed to be on. And Etta Place just happens to be mine. Everybody has a soul group, and Etta is actually part of my soul group as well.
Now, what exactly is a soul group?
A soul group is a group of people who are kind of like your family. Like we have an earthly family, but these are people who we have spent many, many lives with. We've reincarnated with them. Sometimes we don't, just like Etta's in spirit right now. But yeah, we spent many, many lives together.
Now, you mentioned that my spirit guide was apparently a Native American woman. Is that correct?
I believe so. She's not here right now. So.
Well, tell her to get up here, by God. And that we allegedly had spent a number of lifetimes together. In what capacity, I have no idea. But I found that fascinating. Now, I had asked Heather to, I said, look, my wife, Vicky, believes that I have spent a number of lifetimes in military service, being a soldier. And I asked Heather, I said, is there any way to find out about that? And she stopped, and her spirit guide, Etta, came back and said, well, you were a soldier during the Civil War. Your name was Cassius Gate or Gates, and you served in the 2nd Regiment of the Ohio Heavy Artillery. Well, with that information, I tracked down there, in fact, was a 2nd Regiment of the Ohio Heavy Artillery. And I searched and searched to see if I could find a roster of some of the soldiers that served in that. And unfortunately, I was not able to. But there certainly was a 2nd Regiment of Ohio Heavy Artillery that served on the Union side, the Federal service, when we fought our war with the Confederates. And I got to tell you, Heather, that was quite quite shocking.
Yeah, they say different things. That's just one of the things that she's very helpful at, is past lives and everything.
I wonder, Dawn, if we could check the National Archives and see if they might have something. I think those are searchable online pretty much now.
Okay,
I'll get that info. I'll look for it. Just send me the info, and I'll look for it.
Okay.
Is there so it's you have any more like unit numbers, company numbers?
That was it. That's all I could come up with. Okay. That is online. I mean, I searched the Ohio Registry, for Civil War units.
Yeah.
And that was very prominently in there. So they were an artillery unit, and it's funny because I up until that point I never felt any affinity with that. But maybe I didn't like it when I was there. Who knows?
Probably not.
Yeah, it wasn't a very nice war.
No.
Families against families and all kinds of stuff. That was a bad one. But it's just so amazing the things that you come up with. But we should try to go a little bit further and see if we can identify that person. If we can, we might be able to, find relatives and get more information.
Tell us a little about Etta. Now, Etta told me something, or not Etta, but Heather told me something that Etta conferred to her. We were kind of kidding around about that very movie, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And the business, if you remember in the movie, Paul Newman as Butch Cassidy took Etta on a bicycle ride. And Heather, tell us what Etta had to say about that.
Etta did not like that scene at all because she was not with Butch Cassidy. It's funny because the relationship that she and Butch have now, I talk to both of them almost daily. They like to argue with each other, but they're funny arguing. It's kind of like kids just spatting back and forth, and she just does not like that scene because it just puts her with Butch.
Butch is so hilarious. He's always popping up when we're talking and trying to talk about other things. And he's got the worst mouth on him of anybody that's ever come across. He cracks me up, though. It doesn't, I'm not offended by it. I just think it's hilarious.
People,
if you remember a few weeks ago, Heather, I popped off about Cassidy because I knew a little about his background, and I knew that he had been raised Mormon. Mm-hmm. And something he had said, which was pretty profane, all right? And I said, Butch, that's not how a good Mormon boy talks. Do you remember what he did, Heather?
I can't remember. He always does a bunch of crazy things.
He kind of spit like that.
Oh. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, he is quite a character.
But it's funny, though, because personality does survive death. I think a lot of people think that once we pass, we're all just immediately Christ-like and angelic, and that's not the case. If you have a personality and you're funny here, your personality is going to transcend, to heaven with you. And there definitely is a heaven.
But there's no
Well,
hell, right?
okay.
No.
Let's explore that for a moment because, well, you obviously have much more experience dealing with that. But what about some of the other religious icons? If there is a heaven, then there must be a supreme being. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. And this supreme being has messengers that we would refer to as angelic beings, angels. Is there any truth to that?
There are angels, yes.
Are they
Angels
good
have never
guys?
been on
Are
Earth
they?
before.
I'm sorry?
Angels have never been on Earth before. They have never been people. No, they've always been up there. Now, whether you like to call it God or Allah or whoever you want it to be, it's not a person. It's just energy. It's just good, light, love, energy, peace.
But yet, Heather, didn't you tell me? And I watch so many films and videos on NDEs. I hope I'm not getting it confused. But didn't you tell me that Jesus is real?
Jesus is real.
Okay, then if Jesus is real, what about Mohammed
Oh, I'm sure.
and Buddha and any other prophets
Yeah.
of God in other belief systems?
I've never actually talked to any of the other ones. I've never actually talked to Jesus either.
Right.
I've just heard other spirits talk about them because sometimes when I'm doing readings, they always ask if someone has questions. And sometimes they're like, is there a Jesus? Have you met Jesus? And they always say yes, or, not yet, or something like that.
Yeah.
But he is definitely real.
And
from my
now,
understanding,
Heather,
he doesn't look like the person on the cross that we have
right
here.
But was he indeed, something really special?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there are others that have been that way too, or is it just him?
There are others. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Heather, let me ask you this. During our chat prior, you had indicated that there are also some very I'm just going to say it, some very vile people that transitioned to this space also. We talked about several female guards at SS death camps, Bergen-Belsen, Dachau, Auschwitz, and you named who these people were. And you even stated that you observed the entity that we knew as Adolf Hitler there. Do these people, because of their vile deeds, do they suffer any sort of dark karma as a result of that?
Well, they don't go to hell because hell is here on earth. There is no hell. But I think that whenever they go to heaven or paradise or whatever you want to call it, I just label it as that because that's what I use. That I think that there is some sort of karma that goes with it because it's like they judge themselves. I was talking to one spirit who said, because we were asking about if you get judged by a group of people as soon as you get up there and talk about every horrible thing that you did in your life. And they said, no, that's not what happens. They said that you are harder on yourself than they would ever be. And so you have to feel like what you put others through and how you made other people feel, if that makes sense.
Well, they say that a lot, the NDE people, near-death experiencers, that one thing that they do is they go through a life review, and then they see everything that they did, both good and bad, from their standpoint and from the standpoint of the person that was either receiving the good deed or the bad deed, and you see how you made them feel. And that is the judgment. It's not anybody else. You are given the understanding through complete empathy of what that mean thing you said to somebody or what it was that you did to someone. You see it in a way that you can say, oh my gosh, I get it. That was really, that was not a good thing for me to do. But it's not being condemned or anything by anyone. It's just, you're made aware.
Yeah, and I think there is a healing process that actually goes on too as soon as you pass, because death is traumatic. Not so much to our bodies, but just, coming from one life and going into another, that's traumatic. And so we have to learn and we have to heal before we can fully be whole again.
Oh,
ladies, by the way, Mark just indicated he's not feeling too well.
I hope he didn't catch my COVID.
Yeah, he may drop out, but my brother cop buddy, Chris DePerno, who also has a show on KGRA, I Detective. Okay, it's a police themed show. Would love to join us since Mark is leaving. So, with that being said, Heather, he asked me a question, and if we get him on here, he'll probably ask you himself. But he said, ask Heather who my spirit guide is. Oh, there he is. Mark.
Hi, Chris.
Mark is gone. Chris is here. How you doing, buddy?
I'm getting sort of like an echo here. But anyways, am I on a delay or something?
No.
Oh, okay. Heather, it's so good. It's so good to hear you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. I heard your husband is a police officer. Is that correct?
Yes, he is. In Texas.
Wow. Well, I have a question for you because I was a skeptic at first. I had a partner who died. He died trying to save some people in a gorge. He fell into the river, and we couldn't find him. And somebody turned around and said, "Let's call a spirit person." And of course, I not being a believer at that time, I kind of said, "This is the craziest idea in the world." And what happened is that Phil Jordan, he came and he said to us, "I see flowers above." Now, we all thought he was like a little goofy because he fell in the river. So how would there be flowers over there? And so what happened was we had a memorial for him and we threw a wreath into the river.
Right.
Well, you're not going to believe this, but that wreath went right to where the body was and hovered over him.
Oh, my God.
And a fireman saw the wreath, remembered what the psychic said, went with a pole, and there he was right over the flowers.
Oh.
And I freaked out.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
Ever since, I've been a believer.
Well, wild. I told Chris today about having met you, Heather, and I said, by nature, I am very skeptical, but this lady truly rocked my world.
I'm going to back out for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay. And Sasha, if you're out there, if you can hear me, darling, please drop by. I am dying to communicate with you. And Heather, if anybody lines up, please let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's saying that she's tried to communicate with you. You just don't listen.
Well.
She said you're hard-headed.
Oh.
Okay.
Is that from previous experience with her?
She said yes.
How could anybody say that about Dawn? Hard-headed? Oh, my gosh.
Now,
Dawn keeps her on her toes.
Heather, I'm dying to ask you this question because I'll be honest with you, I'm very scared about the supernatural. I could take aliens. Yeah, come on down from Mars. I don't care. I'll take you all on. But when it comes to like the spirit stuff, exorcism and all that, I got to sleep with the light on. If I see the Exorcist, the movie, I'm there with a shotgun on the side of my bed with the lights on, crawling up like this, going, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you: do I have a spirit guide? And
Yes.
do I have a soul group?
Yes, you sure do. No one is here right now, but if we just talk for a few minutes and whenever they come through, I'll let you know.
Yeah, would you? I'd like to find out because I need to talk to him a little bit because sometimes he's sending me in the wrong direction. So I definitely got to ask.
Was Sasha still there?
Sasha's listening. Yes.
Oh, good. Sasha, I'm going to try it again to communicate with you. I'm sorry if I'm hard-headed. I guess that comes from a lifetime of being knocked in the head on various occasions. So,
Is there
She's had to
something
save
that
you many
Sasha?
times.
Is there something that Sasha could show Dawn? So that gives them a little bit more help, seeing that she's actually around. Could she manipulate a light or a TV set or?
She likes to leave change by his feet.
She what?
Likes to leave change by his feet.
Change.
Like money? Change, coins. Yeah.
I haven't found any recently. How about $20 bills, Sasha?
Yeah.
She said, "You owe me $20." About her.
Heather, is a spirit guide the same thing as a guardian angel?
No. So a guardian angel has never been on Earth before. There are guardian angels. I'm not sure if I'm able to speak to them or not because they're so high up. Mm-hmm. I've never actually spoken to anyone's guardian angel before, just spirit guides. And your spirit guide's name is Curtis.
Mine?
Yes.
Curtis?
Curtis. Okay.
Is he giving you any more info about who he was?
He's from Michigan. I don't think that he was anybody famous per se.
Right.
Yeah.
What did he do in life?
Curtis worked on rail cars, like railroad rail cars, maybe like unloading.
So he worked for the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how does a spirit guide get assigned to a person? I mean, like, is there some kind of order, or when I'm born, I get this spirit guide like Curtis? Curtis is mine now that I found out. I mean, what is their mission and how do they get assigned to us? Is there a meaning behind them coming to us?
Yeah. So a lot of the times your spirit guide is in your soul group, the people that, you've reincarnated and lived many lives with before. And their sole purpose is to, keep you on track, keep you on the path that you chose to be on before you actually reincarnated and came back to Earth. Because everything that we've done in this life, like with Dawn, like your death that you experienced on the table and, you being a police officer and things like that, everything that's happened in your life up to this point, you've chosen.
That's so hard to accept.
It is
sometimes.
hard to, yeah. It's hard to wrap your head around.
Some of us have had some horrible things.
Well, if Sasha is still there, and you indicated that she comes from a Native American background, what group, if I may ask, Sasha, did you come from?
Sasha was a Navajo.
Wow. And I was there with her. Was I also a part of the Navajo Nation?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Wow.
I'm talking about the West. So I'm assuming probably like Santa Fe, New Mexico area.
What was their relationship when they were in the Navajo tribe, Dawn and Sasha?
They were just in the same tribe. Yeah, they weren't married or anything like that.
Right. but they knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
Heather, how does Curtis know me?
You live past lives together. So whenever you go to heaven or paradise, whatever you want to call it, you're going to see Curtis and you're going to know exactly who he is. It's going to be very, very familiar to you.
Okay. I'm not sure if you could do this, but do you know anything about my past lives? Did I have past lives, or am I a newbie?
No, you've had some past lives before, because Curtis is talking about whenever he worked on the rail system that you did too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was like new rails, so it had to have been, whenever it first came to be.
Building the railroad, probably.
Wow, that's completely different from my personality now.
That's usually the point.
Yeah,
like you have a past life, and then like my past life, I was an outlaw, and then this past life, I'm married to a police officer.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm telling you. How's he feel about all this? Does he get like kind of spooked out a little bit?
I've always told him, I was like, we need to do a podcast where it has you on here about living with me in the same house, because it's wild. And like you weren't on earlier, but I didn't tell him until after we were married that we could do this. And then I started talking to his mother, who had passed away whenever he was 17. But at first he was kind of really standoffish. His parents are preachers in the church. And so that, so we don't ever really talk about, this to them or anything like that. But he was kind of scared, I would say, at first, because my spirit guide, Etta, and then Butch, they would love to scare him, and they thought it was funny. They weren't trying to do it like I say on purpose, but they were trying to do it on purpose. They would kind of like show themselves here and there, or they would, touch his feet, or they would do something else. And so, it's just happened so much. And I've talked to so many people that he's kind of used to it right now. And he's a really good sport about everything. So I'm really appreciative.
Okay. I just noticed, gang, that we slipped right past the break. We got to take a break. It'll just be a couple of minutes. Everybody stay where you are. If you need to get a glass of water or something, feel free to do it. And we'll be right back. This is Dark Matters Radio, heard exclusively on KGRA DB. We'll be back after this.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
Are you looking to go on a faraway journey that is magical and mysterious, reaping on mystical legends? If so, then Mysterious Adventure Tours is perfect for you. Imagine a voyage to explore ancient mysteries of Ireland, haunted majesties of Scotland, or their chilling Birth of the Vampires in Romania. These small esoteric getaways are limited and do fill fast. So, go to mysteriousAdventuretours.com and book your trip soon.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Alrighty then, we are back, and Mark Center, unfortunately, was not feeling well. However, my brother cop, Chris DiPerno, joined us. Our former exclusive managing editor, Ms. Rene Barnett, and Spooky Heather.
That's what I'm going to call you from now on, Spooky Heather.
Yeah.
By the way, everybody, Heather will be coming back on the 30th of October, which is a Monday, one day before Halloween. I thought that would only be right. So look, with any luck, okay, and I wasn't able to talk with her prior to the show, but our producer, Ms. Chanel, the rock and roll singer, Chanel has the ability to take phone calls. She's got to train me like a monkey, okay? And they said a monkey probably can do it if you use enough training and enough, smacking around. So we're going to probably this week, if she's got the time, we're going to talk me through that. But hey, I'll tell you what, this is fantastic. Heather, has anybody else lined up?
Not yet, no.
No. What the hell are they waiting for?
Well, I can turn it off and turn it on, so I'll turn it on and see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. How about somebody for me? No, just kidding. I can talk to Heather anytime I want.
Now look,
I don't talk to her that much.
Here's something that I basically wanted to touch on with Heather, because she kind of spooked and blew my mind. This is a few weeks ago when I was first introduced to her, when she informed me that two of my beloved canine companions, Buckwheat and Jade, showed up. And Jade was my little blonde Cocker Spaniel. Now, I never said this, but I never said this to Heather, but it came out of her mouth. I used to call Jade my little blonde bombshell. Okay. And that's exactly what Heather said. There's another dog here, Jade. Something about the blonde bombshell. And I said,
it was Buckwheat said, I'm better than the blonde bombshell.
Oh, is that how it was?
He said they liked me better.
Yeah. Well, see now, this is what I wanted to ask Heather. Heather, you indicated that canine dogs can basically talk, but it's like trying to listen to children. Could you go into that just a touch? Because I know Renee's dog, Toby, showed up the first time that you basically, you guys were talking and you said, oh, dog showed up, Toby. And that was Renee's dog.
Yeah.
How in the heck does that work?
Yeah, so dogs and cats and animals, all animals, they're in heaven, paradise, again, whatever you want to call it.
And that's so good.
And they can talk. They can definitely talk. They can have a conversation with you. They do sound like toddlers, though, whenever they talk. Yeah.
Now I had a bunch of dogs. Heather, are any of them coming through? I had a fantastic dog just lately that I had to.
Don't say any
Don't
names.
say anything.
I'm not saying any names. I'm just saying that I had a fantastic dog.
The only animal that is coming through right now, I believe it's a passerby. And so what I like to call a passerby is they know that you know someone that they know, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like a friend of a friend kind of thing. And so your co-host, what's his name again?
Mark?
No. The one
Gary.
Okay. So I believe it's a friend of Gary's. His name is Tommy. Hold on, I'm getting in the last name for Tommy because Ulrich? Tommy Ulrich. And,
so this is a person that's passing by.
Well, no, it's that's the owner of the Bailey the pet rat. Yeah, no, it's a rat. Bailey the rat.
Oh, Bailey the rat.
Yes.
So we got to find out from Gary if he knows anybody that had Bailey the rat.
Because Tommy Ulrich is the rat is saying his dad.
Tommy Ulrich.
I'm writing this down, by the way.
Yeah. Well, Bailey is saying thank you for planting the orange flowers. Apparently, he planted some flowers whenever he buried the rat in his yard.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah, because he liked to eat the flowers, and so I mean that's just like an example of an animal that came through. That was the first time I've ever spoken to a rat before. So thank you, Bailey.
Are all animals or only animals that were connected to people are up there? Like are lions and tigers and jungle animals up there?
Yep, they're all up there because they all have souls.
Wow.
That's fantastic. Heather, you mentioned something that people don't go to hell.
No.
So, and I was wondering when you said that, what happens when there's evil in a person? I now be like Don, being a major crimes detective, I met some very evil people in the world. I mean, killers, and they enjoyed killing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean, do they get a free pass and they go to heaven?
So after they pass away, because there certainly are serial killers.
Oh God, yes, I met them
in heaven right now.
Okay.
But they have to go through I see as humans, we always need labels and things to call different things. So I always say whenever they pass, they go through classes. That's just a label for us. So they go through these classes and they have to heal and they have to go through the trauma and they have to feel everything that they've made other people feel. So
they actually then experience the pain and everything prior to having grace upon them.
Yes.
Oh, that
and
makes
then
sense.
also, Chris, Heather says that, she can see these people on the other side. So she says that people that get there and have been very evil and haven't worked that out, didn't do what they were supposed to do in their lifetime, they don't look the same. They look all kind of messed up and broken up, and you can't really see their faces, and they have to go through a healing process and a learning process, and then they start to sort of rematerialize, and you can start to see. She had that experience with one of the female guards at Bergen-Belsen in Auschwitz. It was Elizabeth Volkenrath. When she first met up with Elizabeth's face was all blurry and weird and kind of everything didn't look solid. But Elizabeth has been working on herself and she's now able to see her face. By contrast, she also saw Irma Greze up there, and Irma has not done the work that she needs to do, and she still looks all messed up, and she's not together. She's not cohesive. So, You don't
My
you
question
don't
to
have
both of you.
exactly the same situation if you're evil. You've got to work through it after you get there somehow.
Yeah, they have to heal for a lot longer than a normal person would.
Why do we get sent back then? I mean, if we die, like I die and, I do my healing or whatever, and I then have grace, why do I have to come back? I mean,
Yeah.
I want to die naturally and I don't want to die tomorrow, but when I do take the big plunge, I want to stay up there. I don't really want to come back.
Well, it's a choice, isn't it?
It is. It's definitely a choice. We go up
Okay.
there, we meet with our soul group, we kind of, talk it about and throw it around. And, why we decide to come back is beyond me, I guess, to learn a lesson. But
Well, I will tell you, Curtis, if I go up there and see you again, you better talk me out of coming back again, because this world is one crazy place.
yeah, trust me, I told Etta the same thing, that I do not want to come back. But I have asked her before. It took her a long time for her to tell me why, because, as humans, we're not supposed to know this stuff, I don't know if there's like rules or whatever they have to go through, what they can and can't say. And I'm sure there are, because sometimes I'll ask Etta some questions and she'll say, it's not my place to say, or she won't give me an answer to something.
You said that about Sasha when I asked if she had a last name.
Mm-hmm. Or she'll just look at me.
No, you asked Etta what Sasha's last name was, and Etta said, it's not my place to say. Not my place, pardon the pun.
Yeah, not my place, exactly. But yeah.
Well, let me ask you something else, Heather. I've been researching some Earth anomalies for quite a while now. I think Chris knows about this. I'm not sure, Rene, if you do or not.
No.
But I have been fascinated by an epic in history roughly 10,000 years ago called the Younger Dryas.
Oh, yes.
Epic.
Younger Dryas.
Okay. Now, this is when a catastrophic event happened which caused the Ice Age to recede, melt, and basically the face of the planet was changed. Now, prior to that, it's believed there may have been advanced human civilizations. Have you ever heard anything from any of your conversations with the other side, with Etta, or any of those people about past events like that? And Etta or Sasha, if you're listening, anything you could tell us would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah. So Sasha's actually talking right now. She's saying that event that happened, she said it's going to happen again if we don't stop doing what we're doing. Like, we're ruining the planet. And so in order to save it from us, then that's probably going to happen again.
And was that what happened before? Was there an advanced civilization that was getting too technologically crazy? And
I think that they were saving us from ourselves at that point, kind of thing, for future generations. I'm not sure. That's just what I'm getting. I have to see what that is all about. But I know you're talking about the Ice Age and all that.
Right. But
the human beings' best guesstimate may be anywhere. Our race, Homo sapiens sapiens, may actually have gone back at least 1 million years. Now, just the thought of that is mind-boggling. So what you're suggesting is that our soul may have been around that long, if that's true. Is that correct?
Yes, it could be.
Wow.
Yeah. I know with Etta and myself, she says that we lived many lives together starting, before Christ.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Now,
and Sasha and I?
Yes.
Yes,
All
what?
he said is yes. You've lived a long time together.
Oh, I hope my wife doesn't get jealous.
Hey, she's probably relieved. I know. She could probably use the help.
Yeah, really.
But
Does the spirit guides, Heather, tell you what's in store for us? Do they give you warning? I mean, obviously they give you warning about the planet, but can they tell you, listen, guys, you're going into a bad period now, a good period?
No, wait a minute. I think Curtis just talked to me. He said, tell Chris, don't take that shotgun to bed with him.
I'll just sleep with the lights on, okay, Curtis?
Yeah.
No, so
God.
they have talked about disclosure before. They've talked about how there is other life out there besides humans. I can actually hear them sometimes, and it scares me. And just like Chris, how you were talking about how spirits, how you can talk to ETs and aliens all day long and call them from Mars, I am the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Aliens, I'm out. Like,
scared of the alien stuff.
Yeah.
Was Sasha aware of the paper that I've been working on? This is a self-serving question.
It's sure,
but it's about disclosure.
Show, Don.
Yeah, and if you asked Sasha questions about disclosure, she'd probably tell you. You just have to be able to listen. And when I say listen, anybody can hear a message from their spirit guide. They just have to realize what they're doing. If you're doing something mundane, if you're driving without the radio on, if you're washing dishes, folding clothes, something like that, and all of a sudden you get this thought and you're like, why did I even think about that? It's because it's not you. No, it's going to be in your voice, in your head, but it's not your thought, if that makes any sense. And even past loved ones can communicate with you like that too. Like if all of a sudden you're not even thinking about like your mother that's passed away, and then all of a sudden you get a thought about your mother, and it's just some random thought, and you think about her, that's her talking to you. Again, it might be in your voice, but you can definitely respond. Like you don't have to talk audibly for them to hear you. You can talk to them in your head because they hear your thoughts and they know what you think.
That's scary.
Yeah, is there ever a way that someone like Chris or Don or myself could ever get, is there something we can do to enhance that communication so that we're getting it more direct like you? Because, oh my God, I mean, I've got thoughts going through my head constantly. I never know where they're coming from. But is there something that we could do to make ourselves more aware that, okay, that's actual communication with my mom or with, whoever?
I just think that practice, but don't try too hard. If you're constantly yearning to hear something from somebody, you're going to start making that up in your head. It's going to be the times that you're not thinking about anything. That's whenever it's going to happen. Just don't think too much into it, because then you're going to be wrong. I think that some people are born with gifts, like myself, unexplainable why, I'm not sure. But then others, if you wanted to, the veil is very thin. And there is definitely, there is a metaphysical presence around us all the time that we just have to learn how to tap into and listen.
And I know, I've talked to some of your other friends, and then in my own experience, it does seem like, and maybe it's my imagination, but it seems like since you and I have been talking so much that weird things seem to be happening around. And like with your friend, is it Christina, the one that has now begun automatic writing?
Yes.
Which she couldn't do before. And then her mom started getting psychic or some kind of mediumistic impressions or something.
Yes.
So when you're around people that have this kind of a gift, is there something that kind of passes along to you? Like, can you sort of pick up on that energy and use it? Or I'm just not sure why, that would be like that. Christina now started doing all this other stuff that she wasn't doing before.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. And if I had an answer, a direct answer, I would definitely give it, because I would want everybody to experience this, get to talk to people that they love and they miss, But I will say that, I always tell people after I'm doing readings for them, just a caveat at the end of the readings, like, I'm sorry, but your house might be a little more active. Things might happen that you might hear some things, you might feel some things, strange things will probably happen within the next 3 days, only because they know that they have a way to communicate, and they're going to try to keep communicating with you because they think that you can hear them, So sorry, Chris.
All right.
Tell me, Heather, is there any time of the day, the week, the month when these supernatural occurrences, the hearing, the communication, seem to happen more than others? For example, now everybody, because most people just think of Halloween. Halloween today is more of a children's holiday than anything. But once upon a time, the Celts looked at this as when the veil was most thin and possibly spirits could enter into this reality. Samhain is what it was called. Does that seem to have anything to do with what you experience?
Yeah, so I think that when people get together and they all have a like-minded vision of what they're trying to do, if they're trying to communicate with the dead, if they're trying to, play with a Ouija board, which I do not advise people to do because you don't know who you're contacting. But usually it's around Halloween whenever people start doing, the spooky, scary stuff. So whenever that happens, the veil is thinned because they know. And they know that you're trying to communicate with them. And so they're going to try to communicate with you back.
Okay, that leads me to a question. So I won't go near an Ouija board. I will not. And my question to you is, we see that all these spirit guides, good spirits are coming, but can bad spirits, are there such a thing, one is bad spirits, and can they try to influence, convince you, or do the same thing as your good spirit guide?
So yes, and if you're not, if you're not aware about your good spirit guide, you might accidentally take a bad spirit and follow it. Because they're going to disguise themselves as something that they're not. They're going to be almost tricksters. They're going to be nice. They're going to be charming. They're going to be great. And these bad spirits are people, once again, that have never lived on earth before. They're just dark, dark entities. Hell there isn't like a pit of fire burning. That's what organized religion has you believe, for fear. But hell is definitely here on earth right now. And that's why everybody goes through their own hell. That's why people commit suicide. That's why there's, bad things that happened. And if you notice, there's a lot of bad things happening on the earth right now with people, with things, with situations happening all around them, that bad entities, they love that. They play off of it. They feed off of like arguing, conflict, confrontation. They feed off of that. And so instead of being able to go somewhere to hell, which earth is hell right now, they just kind of roam around. And that's why people, they are influenced by the darkness that they have. Have they ever tried to talk to me? Sure. But that's not who I am. I'm sure there are people out there who, would love to talk to, demons and darkness and things like that, and Ouija boards, and because demons sell, especially on television. That's why everything you see on television, everybody has a demon in their house, but that's, if you're all about light and love and peace, then that's what you're going to attract. But with a Ouija board, you don't know who you're getting, at that point.
Yeah, I've always been spooked by those. Back in the 70s, Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were basically representatives for the Roman Catholic Church, investigating these cases of hauntings, possessions, and so forth, stated that as a result of a Ouija board, many of these things began because negative influences were brought into somebody's life because they played with that. As a result, I also, Chris, would never have one in my house. Never.
Mm-mm.
No, I tell you, there's something. The thing that gets me, and I believe that there's a spiritual battle going on, because you can see so many different bad things happening on Earth right now, and I agree with what Heather's saying. They're feeding off this, but the Earth is the planet Earth and its occupants all over the world are in such turmoil. Government, military, wars. I mean, the border, we just have chaos over and over. And I mean, we have these good spirit guides, but it seems like they're kind of losing because we're not moving in a good direction. We're not moving where we should be moving. Heather, what's your comment on that?
Yeah, they always say, how can we fix things is one of the things I always ask. What can we do to fix things? And they always say the same thing. Be kind to one another. It's like we're trying to divide each other into different groups and different segments. And we're all one. We're all the same being. And if we all treated each other with kindness and respect, then the world would be a completely different place than it is right now.
It's great in philosophy, Heather, but I don't see us heading in that direction. I mean, crime is up, brutal, violent stuff is happening all over the place. I mean, it just seems like we're just heading in such a bad direction. I hope that we get some better guidance than what's happening to us.
Yeah.
Well, in all my life, I've never experienced the turmoil that we are witnessing today, the corruption, the crime, the taking advantage of poor people. I mean, it's mind-boggling, totally mind-boggling. Here in California, for example, my God, Los Angeles, one of the basic, originally jewels of a city on the whole planet, today is nothing but a massive homeless encampment. Take a look at San Francisco, how that once beautiful city by the bay has literally been turned into a cesspool. And it appears that all the adults that normally would have tried to handle that have left the building.
Yeah. We don't take care of our people. We just don't. I mean, you go to Europe, for instance, it's just, it's so much cleaner. People are getting free health care. You just don't see homeless. They house their people. If nothing else, you can get housing, and basic needs. But but I did see, and back to that thing of, how it seems like worse than ever, Chris. I just watched something, and there's a book that I'm going to get. I can't remember the author's names, but it's called The Fourth Turning. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that term. I wasn't, but it's about looking at history, looking at times where there've been horrible things going on, and then a change comes, and it comes in stages. And the fourth turning is the supposed last stage before the change actually comes, and it's like the worst part. So in other words, maybe the darkest hour is just before the dawn. I don't know. I'm hoping that's the case.
We're in pretty dark hours right now, Renee.
Yeah, but I think we have to get, it's like, like an addiction, you have to hit rock bottom before you can, really understand and start to heal and really get a grip on things. I'm hoping that it's something like that. Of course, I have no inside knowledge, but
I think that,
Heather, does that sound right? Or does that sound like,
well, I think that kindness, just being kind is little things, that add up to big things, and I think kindness has a ripple effect. And I think that if we just start with one person, and like we know now, there's 4 of us now. So if we saw a stranger, just even a smile goes a long way.
That's true.
And it's just being kind.
Yeah, you never know sometimes what a smile or a good word is going to mean to someone that's really having a hideous day. I guess it was Rumi that said, I think it was Rumi that said, always be kind because everyone is fighting a battle. And I think that's true. Oh, who we got?
We just got a note from Gary Kissel. Apparently, Gary is asking to come on the show for a moment. He wants to address what was said about his friend Tommy and his pet rat.
Tommy Ulrich is a close friend of mine.
Oh, wow. I'm dying to hear.
Me too.
And his rat Bailey died in October of 2022.
Oh.
And that's all I wanted to say. That's really, yeah.
Yeah, did you tell him about the flowers?
I messaged Tommy going, hey, man, this psychic chick just brought you up. Oh.
Did he bury the rat in the yard with flowers?
A garden, yes. It was buried in a garden, and it's, I think there's one reference to it, a post that he made back in 2022. In the gardening site, he had said that he had buried his rat in the garden.
Oh.
And he's got a lot of pets, varmints and cats. He's an animal lover, so.
Yeah, that was my first rat I've ever spoken to, so.
Heather,
hey, you just talked to me and Mark. Oh, wait, Christopher is here. Where's Mark?
Heather, I have a question for you in regards to possession. So we have spirit guides, we have soul groups. How does a person, I guess, become possessed? I mean, that is the.
I'm going to bail out here and listen to the show, but I just needed to point that out.
Thank
you. 1 second, because there's somebody here for you.
Buddy.
Wait a minute, Gary.
Hey.
Can you wait a second?
Sure.
So there is a lady, her name is Jill. She's saying that turns out she's not a Muppet after all. Jill Mount Books.
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't even know. Is she gone?
Sorry.
Yeah. She was like my director on stage. And she always referred to me as her Richard because I played Richard the Lionheart in one of her plays.
This is a
librarian.
Book.
I'm sorry, my librarian. She was
because she sees
both
you
of them. Both ladies are librarians. Jill Mount was my librarian. Yes, because when I was in the 9th grade and I went to James Monroe High School, when I first met her, she was always behind a counter in the library. She never came out from behind the counter, and so we stayed friends all the way up till her death. Because yes, I remember her dying, and broke my heart. And I told her one day, I said, "Yeah, when I was 15, I pictured you were a Muppet. That there was somebody behind the counter working you, like a puppet, just from behind the counter. That you weren't a real person."
Oh my gosh!
And she looked at me and she goes, "What is wrong with you?" And I went, "I don't know." But I did. I called her a Muppet. And that was Jill. She was a sweetheart.
That's funny.
Well, to answer your question about Mark was here originally, but he began feeling somewhat ill.
What is it with us old guys? All right, I'm going to go back and lie down because my neck is killing me.
Oh, feel better.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, buddy.
So, Heather, possessions.
So with possession, I think that you have to be in almost like a fragile state of mind, because you're going to have to actually allow that to happen. They just don't, come up to you and just start taking over your body. Now, possessions are definitely a real thing, but
What
but
about
you're
if
going to have to
you're-
allow it.
Well, people that are addicts or alcoholics,
That's what I was going to say, Don.
Mm-hmm.
they're more prone, I would think, to that because their basic self is being broken down by those addictions. Would you agree with that, Heather?
Well, that's what the dark entities, the demons, the poltergeist, things like that, all the names that we give the dark entities, that's what addiction, that's what causes addiction. Because that's not people, that's not us, but they can definitely do it. Etta and I actually did an experiment one time. And I was just trying to see what she could do, because Etta and I were very, very close. She's like the sister who borrows my clothes that never returns them, but we have a great, great relationship. She's probably my best friend. But anyways, I put my hand on the table and Etta had said that she could move my hand. And I was like, well, prove it, And she did. She placed her hand on top of mine and it kind of melted into my hand and she moved it. And then she pulled her hand out because that scared me, and she doesn't ever want to scare me, but I asked for it, because she would never do anything that I would never ask for.
Well, Sasha, if you're there, my hand is down flat on the table. I invite you to touch it.
Sasha, slap him.
Watch what you ask for. We're going to see Dawn's hand just come across the screen.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm so glad Gary came on and confirmed that. That was fun.
Yes.
Me too. I always like to hear confirmation about stuff, especially pets, guys.
Bailey the rat.
I just want to find out if my dog,
Bailey the Beagle, Rene. My little beagle is big.
Yes. Yeah, Chris.
I miss my dog. That's why. He was a great friend of mine. We were together through COVID all that time. Super pet, probably the best pet I ever had. It was actually my daughter's pet, but my daughter said, I'm moving out of the house because I'm going to college. Good luck. See you later, kind of a deal. I was able to do that, but he was just an amazing, amazing dog. And I'm so glad, Heather, that you said that these dogs have souls and go to heaven and they feel good. That makes me feel so much because, animals get treated cruel on this planet. A lot of them do. They get hunted for no reason. I mean, I understand people have to hunt sometimes for food, subsistence, and stuff. That's the nature of this humanity, the way it is. But to kill an animal for sport, to kill an animal because you want to hang it on the wall, I'm not into that, and I just don't see why you would want to kill one of God's creatures just so you could brag about it to a bunch of people, especially beautiful animals like elephants or giraffes.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, we do horrible things to dolphins. Dolphins are very intelligent animals. And we relate that to the UFO, where extraterrestrials are so much advanced than us. They look at us like we're, a minute species. Like Don was saying today, there's a lot of bad things happening with extraterrestrials. They're not all good.
Mm-mm.
And that's the problem that we have today, is that no matter what civilization, society, or extraterrestrial planet, there seems to be a good and an evil that is constant. And maybe that's the way God designed everything.
Yeah. Everybody passes away for a reason, and it's hard to know what that reason is. But whether if it's an elephant or a giraffe, getting shot, poached, or whatever. And then for us to have this conversation about how bad it is, to save other lives of other giraffes and elephants, then,
Right.
it wasn't for waste.
Now, I've got a question for you, Heather, that probably only your friends on the other side of the veil might know about. But throughout history, there have been those singular tales about people that through some process or God only knows what, have basically become almost immortal. The Comte de Saint Germain, for example, very famous one. Do any of your spirit guide or any of the others have any information about that or confirmation? Are there certain humans that have lived advanced, very long lives through some process besides natural?
There have been, yes. And I think that, and once again, asking Etta questions about random things, vampires, mermaids, fairies, things like that, they've had to come from somewhere. People just don't pull that stuff out of, from their behind and start talking about it. Like, they've had to have seen something. They've had to have learned something. Something had to have been passed down, because this is not something that we just, make up, if that makes sense.
Well, it's funny you should mention vampires.
Vampires.
And I'll tell you why. Back in 81, when I was assigned a case as an investigator, 2 cattle mutilations, one of the things that was extraordinarily strange, I was not fully cognizant of what that was all about, but these animals were totally exsanguinated. In other words, they were totally drained of blood. Now, the first thing that I thought of, and just in passing, oh my God, it's almost like a vampire, okay? Came in here and drained those animals. No sign of how it was done, nothing except they were laying there dead, mutilated, and exsanguinated. Well, as time went on, and I've always had a fascination with good occult horror fiction, all right? I basically had an idea for a novel. I love to write fiction, a story, okay? I'm a storyteller. And I had a friend who was one of the writers on Star Trek, The Next Generation, a lady. And I had written this story right before Halloween called Night Shift. And I sent it to her, and she read it and she loved it. She said, Don, you ought to turn that into a book. And that kind of gave me a little nudge. So, make a long story short, just about that time, John Carpenter's movie Vampires came out with James Woods. Vicki and I went to see it. I very much enjoyed it, although I thought, you know what? I'll bet I could do something just as good. And a couple of years went by and I started writing. Well, this was the result. Past Sins, okay? This was my novel that I had published. I didn't publish it. I mean, it was published by a publishing group. And vampires have a very important cultural niche in our mind. Now, I would love to know if any of your friends could explain why that is.
So I will say, let's go back to the cows. Now, I have heard a couple of spirits actually talk about things like that have happened. And it's usually like ET related, about like hybrids and things like that. with the cows. Something they need the cows. I'm not
Like
exactly
plasma
sure.
or something.
Yeah,
from the
something like
cows.
that. But it has to do with ETs. There's actually something like that happened a long time ago in the area where I'm from, where there was actually like a craft that was shown, and then this farmer had like 50 cows or something that were just like what you explained, which is wild.
When was that?
Probably in the early to mid 60s, I guess.
And that's down there in Texas, right?
Yes.
Did you know about those, Don?
Well, there have been mutilations literally all over the United States, and they're not simply limited to cows.
Right.
There have been a lot of things. My God, there have been animals that have been discovered in zoos mutilated.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. But that particular case, an entire herd of 50 cattle were mutilated.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of that. And I would think that would be pretty damn famous.
Yeah.
There was a horse in 1967 in Colorado that was called Snippy.
Snippy.
That was mutilated.
Snippy the horse.
Yeah. And that was very odd, but people are still today talking about that.
Yeah.
But a whole herd? No, I think I would be familiar with
When
that.
was Snippy, Don?
1967.
Oh, okay. So it was around that same time period.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, we should look into it.
Yeah.
Is there anything, I know we're getting down to the last 10 minutes or something. Is there anything that
Well, first, let me ask Heather, is anybody lined up?
There's one person for Rene, which is her daughter, Jolie.
Oh. What is she doing?
She's just watching. She enjoys watching your show.
Oh, she does.
Your show. Yeah.
Oh, my show.
I think she thinks this is your show.
Another edition of Rene Barnett Live.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really sweet. Is she with anyone?
Heather, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rene.
Is there anyone with her?
No, she's alone.
Okay. Love you. All right.
That's
love you too.
Heather, when you were a young child and you started discovering your gifts, how did that affect you? How did all of a sudden do you see these entities, these spirits, or do you just hear them?
Yeah, so a lot of the times I do see them, and they look like people to me, unless they're fragmented somehow, like we were talking about the SS guards and things like that, and then they're gray and kind of see-through with no faces. Sometimes they can just talk, and I'll hear them in my head, and it'll be my voice, of course. But as a kid, it was kind of, I was a weird kid in school, always the one talking to my imaginary friends that weren't so imaginary.
No.
It would just startle people whenever it started to make sense about things that I shouldn't know, that I did know at such a young age. But yes, and even with Etta, like my mother has seen her. She showed herself to my mom. She has, done stuff at the house, and my sisters have seen her. And like I said, my husband has seen her before.
So your husband has actually experienced these spirits?
Yes. He's seen Etta several times. I'll talk to his relatives sometimes whenever they come through. It all depends. If your relatives come through, you have to be sort of kind of more advanced in the healing process and the grief process that you're in, because they don't want to upset you, and they don't want to see you sad, but you have to be far enough along. So sometimes they'll come down and they'll say little things, but then they won't stay for very long. But yeah, Butch Cassidy will come and touch his feet. They have a thing for feet. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, it's really fun.
They're still solid on the ground. He's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Butch around?
We don't want Butch to come over here because every other word would be bleeped out.
We'll get kicked off the air.
We will.
Tell me, Heather, when you talk to some of these entities, these people that have passed over, do they ever have an indication when, for example, their loved ones will join them? Do they have any foreknowledge of that? And if they do they ever let that out?
They do. A lot of the times, like when I said I was doing readings, I always ask people if they have any questions. And sometimes they'll ask, when am I going to die? Well, we know that. I know that. But you don't want to know that. You think that you want to know, but that's not, you don't,
I agree.
You're going to be worried the whole time. But yes, they do. They do know. They'll say that they're preparing for so-and-so and, within 2 weeks, they'll be gone.
Is that because time over there is much different than we experience it here?
Yes, time is much, much faster over there. Like to them, they could go to the store, like to the heaven store, and then come back to their house, and we would be there. And in that period of time, that would be like 80, 90 years. For us, it's just dragging on. And so that's why a lot of the times, like if you go to a haunted house and you take a picture and they're always blurry, it's because they move a lot faster than what we do. And we don't have the capability to take their picture clearly most of the time.
Tell me, speaking of haunted houses, why would entities remain there instead of moving on to the other side?
A good question.
Yeah, they're not stuck anywhere. There's no entities that are stuck anywhere. They're free to go as they want. They just somehow like that place. If I wanted to go and visit the Eiffel Tower after I'm gone, I'll probably just go. But that's why at the same time at haunted houses, sometimes they're active, sometimes they're not. I mean, it's whoever's there at the time, because they do go back and forth.
Well, I have a very dear, very close friend for a very long time that lives back east where I'm from in Pennsylvania, who for years was part of a Civil War reenactment group. Okay. And one time they were having some kind of a celebration or reenactment down at Antietam. And my friend's name is Bob. And they went down there and they were camping out at night. They really prided themselves in using, authentic type tents, and they would cook over an open fire, all that kind of stuff. And he went to bed, and while he was in bed sleeping in his shoes, something woke him up tugging at his boots. And he jumped up, nobody there. And it was a little known fact, but often Confederate soldiers didn't have shoes. So after a big battle, a lot of them that were shoeless would go out and strip shoes or boots from the dead. And Bob was convinced they were trying to steal his shoes. Now think about that. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's probably what they were doing. They probably just, if you want to reenact it, let's do it for real this time.
Well, gang, guess what? And this is unfortunate, but we are out of time. Heather, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. Heather, Rene, Chris, please don't jump out. We're going to close up shop. But that is it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, I'll have Donald Schmidt on Dark Matters Radio, one of the original team of Kevin Randall and Schmidt. Roswell, yes, sir. And he was going to be on about a month or so ago, and we ended up losing power during that big storm that hit California. So we had to postpone it. But that's it for tonight. Gang, it's been wonderful, great, and thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Keep your eyes pointed up.